Hey guys, it's Braden. Today I'm going to show you how to use Dental Intel's follow-up system. Dental Intel provides the best tool to make sure that all of your patients are accounted for and that none of them are falling through the cracks. We want to help you guys get your patients back on your schedule. Follow-ups come from one simple principle that we talk about. All of our patients should either be scheduled for a future appointment, or if they're not scheduled, we should be following up with them to get them scheduled to come back into our office. Dental Intel's follow-ups help with the patients who do not have a future appointment scheduled. We want those patients back in our office. We don't want to lose them. If you're like most dental offices, it's a mess trying to keep track of all your patients. Between sticky notes, Excel spreadsheets, word of mouth, and notes in our practice management software, it's all just a jumbled mess without any sort of organization. That's all going to change when you start using the follow-up system. All of your calls and all of your reminders for all of your patients will be in one simple organized system. Let's dive in and see how to use it. A follow-up is simply a notification and reminder to call a specific patient on a specific date. These follow-ups will help the whole team stay organized on which patients have been called and which patients still need to be called. The first thing we want to do is harness the intelligence on Dental Intel and turn on automatic follow-ups. If you have admin rights, click on the main menu, then go to Practice Settings, and then simply turn on the automatic follow-ups that you want and click Save. Dental Intel will recognize any patients in the past 2 weeks that didn't get rescheduled for a hygiene appointment, broke an appointment and didn't get rescheduled, and patients that had a non-hygiene appointment but now aren't scheduled to come back into the office. We'll create reminders to call them. Tonight, Dental Intel will grab these patients that need immediate follow-up, and tomorrow when you log into the dashboard, you'll get notifications to call them. Now, we don't even have to decide which patients to call. Dental Intel will automatically tell us the priority patients we need to focus on calling first. The calls we need to make today will show up as those annoying red notifications in the top left corner. As you complete these calls by either scheduling the patient or setting a new date to follow up with the patient, these notifications will go away. We want you to get rid of them. Don't let those red dots stare you in the face all day. Your goal should be to complete as many of these follow-ups as you can each day. Again, your goal should be to complete as many, hopefully all, of these follow-ups every single day. By doing this, your schedule is going to be full, your patients are going to be accounted for, and your life is going to be so much more organized. But guys, simply just having these follow-ups popping up at us does nothing. We need to use them. Let me show you how. Click on that red notification and it'll bring you to today's follow-ups. You can also just click on the main menu and go to today's follow-ups here. Now we have the names of the patients behind those numbers. These are the patients we need to focus on calling today. It'll default to show us everyone's follow-ups. I can filter it right here to see my own follow-ups that are assigned to me or any follow-ups assigned to individual team members. There are two ways to complete a follow-up. One, we actually schedule the patient for an actual appointment with us. When the appointment is scheduled, the follow-up goes away. Number two, we don't schedule an appointment, but we reschedule a date to follow up with the patient again in the future. The follow-up notification will go away until the future date that we set. Again, I've said it a million times and I'll say it again. By either scheduling a patient or setting a follow-up reminder to talk to them again, we will not lose another patient ever again. On the follow-ups, there are three actions we can take: attempt, reschedule, or remove. Whenever you call a patient, click on attempt to show that you attempted a call. Then answer the questions it asks you. If you talk to the patient, click yes. If they didn't answer, click no. I'll show you the three scenarios that happen when we call patients. Number one, we call and no one answers. Number two, we call and talk to the patient, but they don't schedule an appointment. And number three, we call the patient and we get an appointment scheduled for them. So first scenario, we call and no one answers. A lot of times you'll go and make calls and simply just get people's voicemail. So, did you get in contact with the decision maker? No. From here, it'll ask you when you want to be reminded to follow up with this patient again. I want to call this patient again on August 21st, 2 weeks from now. So, select the date that you want to be reminded to call them, put in any notes, in this case we left a voicemail, and click reschedule. On the date that you selected, this patient will pop up as a follow-up to remind you to call them again. Second scenario, we call and talk to the patient, but they don't schedule an appointment. Let's go find another patient and pretend that I call them and they answer the phone. Again, I click on attempt and then select yes, I did reach a decision maker. It then asks which patient were scheduled. If there are other family members, it will pull up their names as well and ask if you scheduled any of them. If you did not get the patient scheduled, don't select anyone and click save. It'll then bring up the same screen where I can tell Dental Intel when I want to be reminded to call this patient again. I'll choose August 21st again. I can also add more notes about what happened on the call. I can choose to keep this follow-up assigned to me specifically, or I can move it to unassigned, meaning that everyone will get notifications to call this patient in the future. Another option is that I can specifically assign it to one of my team members so that they are now in charge of following up with this patient. They will then get the reminders to call this patient. I'm now one call further to getting rid of those red reminders. When I log into the dashboard on August 21st, there will be a reminder to call this patient. They'll be one of my patients that's included in that red notification. Scenario 3, we call the patient and get an appointment scheduled for them. Now let's go ahead and pretend that it's August 21st. First, I log into the dashboard, then I see my follow-up notifications and pull up today's follow-ups. I remember that I need to call this patient again. When I pull up this patient's profile and see the follow-up, I can click on details and see what happened on the previous call. I can see here that this patient wanted me to call them back after they had a chance to look at their schedule. Now that I remember what happened last time I called, I'll try calling them again. Not only did this patient answer the phone this time, but he scheduled an appointment. I click on attempt because I made a phone call. I click on yes because I talked to the patient, and I select him as the patient scheduled and click save. Check it out, the follow-up is now gone. Away, it's not there, we're done. He doesn't need a follow-up anymore because we're planning on seeing him again in the practice. It's as easy as that. So again, just pull up the list of people you need to call today, dial away, and get those follow-ups completed. By clicking on performance, you can adjust the date and then see the calls that you've made, the patients you've scheduled, and the amount of production you've brought back into the practice. This is a fantastic way to see the value of the calls that you're making. As you schedule patients to come into your office, or as you reschedule the date to follow up with them, you will get through your daily follow-up calls and make sure that all of your patients are accounted for. Now we'll talk about the reschedule button on the follow-ups. I know the feeling. You always got some of those patients that don't want to be called until right before they're due for hygiene. Here's one of those patients. I can see when they're due for hygiene right here. I can also see that they have a hygiene recare follow-up since they're not scheduled for a future hygiene appointment. All you have to do is click reschedule and then tell Dental Intel when you want to be reminded to call this patient again. Since I don't want to call this patient until the week before he's due for hygiene, I select that date. Dental Intel will not give you a notification to call these patients until the day that you entered in. The third option is to remove the follow-up. I guess sometimes there may be a reason to remove the follow-up, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and tell you to never use this button unless you totally want to lose contact with the patient. By using these follow-ups, you are never going to lose another patient again. They will all be accounted for. So again, two things result from follow-ups. First, the patients get scheduled and the follow-up is gone, or second, we reschedule the follow-up and are reminded again to call this patient in the future. No more sticky notes, no more trying to remember which patients you were supposed to call, and no more going back and forth from spreadsheet to phone and back. It's all inside Dental Intel. These follow-ups are everywhere. Anywhere you see a patient name, click on it and pull up their profile. If they have a follow-up, it'll show up here. You can also create a custom follow-up by clicking on this button. You can make follow-ups for other reminders such as overdue balances or unscheduled treatment that you want to call and get scheduled. You can always pull up any specific patient you want by using the search bar. The best dental practices create a custom follow-up for each patient before they leave the office. For example, if today a patient is presented with a treatment plan of 3 crowns and they tell me that they need to talk to their spouse before they schedule it, I would make a custom follow-up for unscheduled treatment. I would put in any notes I need, schedule 3 crowns, select the date to be reminded as 1 week from today, and save. Now, I will be reminded in 1 week to call this patient and get their treatment scheduled after they've had a chance to talk to their spouse. Remember, by turning on automatic follow-ups, Dental Intel will help identify the most important patients to call right now. You'll get notifications every day of the patients you need to call. Focus on getting through this list every single day. Get rid of those notifications. Your practice will flourish. As you get better and better at rescheduling your patients while they're still in the office, you'll have less and less follow-up calls you'll need to make in the future. Create custom follow-ups as reminders for patients you know you need to call in the future. Remember, every patient in your practice should either have a future appointment or a follow-up in Dental Intel. By using the follow-up system, you can keep track of every single one of your patients and make sure your schedule is always busy. At Dental Intel, our #1 goal is to help you provide the best patient care possible. If you ever need any help, don't be shy. Reach out to us. We are more than happy to help. We are so excited to see your practice improve.